This is an energy reading, and the moon is now going from conjuncting Chiron to conjuncting Aries in Aries, and Jupiter, our soul night. This is okay. The energy is in the air. There's a lot of chaos in the air, obviously, but there has been. I'm attuned to the fact that the last eclipse that was in Libra was conjuncting star Vendia Matrix and conjuncting Lilith. So, and the moon right now is in Andromeda constellation. To whoever is listening right now, somebody may have been doing a justice spell in your behalf. Now, many people have been doing justice spells, okay? And somebody has been doing a justice spell in your behalf. Now, what all of you that have been doing justice spells need to keep in mind is that Venus ruled that eclipse with the justice, okay? And Venus is also ruling over Uranus. So all of you might be surprised as to the result of that spell of justice. Venus is right now in Capricorn, which is very karmic, okay? Corporations, big pharma with Saturn in Pisces, intelligence, sexpionage, military, the military mind control, okay, because Rahu is still in Aries. And Vendia Matrix is about correcting wrongs, okay? And it's justice that you wouldn't believe that can occur. So, if I and this is my holistic interpretation, okay? You can go into detail with the kind of other content on the web, but you may have been running into omens of somebody doing justice spells. And because Uranus is in Taurus, that's also ruled by Venus, and because there was an eclipse, okay, then justice goes about in weird ways, okay? We are all purging preconceived notions of justice and learning anew, because the eclipse is also, there is a new information adding to the equation. And so the process of justice, what is justice, is all transformed and evolving. So you might see the omens that somebody has been asking for justice on your behalf. I clearly see somebody made a spell of justice in your behalf. And in addition to that, there was an eclipse. So there may have been a fated act of justice in your behalf. Now, this is in everybody's behalf. For example, I have been making an act of justice on behalf of people that have been supposed to be posted as my enemies, simply because I've seen that this MK Ultra done them wrong, okay? And so justice is about you awakening to see the truth. What was the corruption? What's been done? And we're going to have a full moon in Taurus conjuncting Uranus, okay? So what was the corruption? What's been done? And that's going to add layers and add layers and add layers that correct the process of justice for you, okay? So you might have been doing a spell in someone's behalf, and at the same time somebody's been doing a spell in your behalf, especially if you're doing something with law. If you're doing something that tends to that, somebody may have been doing a justice spell on your behalf, and you have been doing justice spell on their behalf. I want you to think about the energy of defending people in rooms they are not even in. So I want you to know that a lot of that has been happening. I can say for myself, there are a lot of people, it's like, if you're watching my channel, you ran into me like on Instagram or on YouTube or in energy, and and you ran into my energy, and I kick your butt, okay? And you think, what's that? A hater? Is that an enemy? This may be the case that I've been defending you in rooms you're not even in, okay? And so, and I feel like that's something that's happening right now for the collective. A lot of people been defending a lot of people in rooms they're not even in, where in the past, it may have not been the same, okay? It may have not been the same in another way. So, um, so that, and then there can also be an issue of justice. You think about, we're purging old notions of justice, but the ruler of Ra is still Mars. So the issues of names, and the concern for defamation, that's all being balanced out. Okay, for example, if you've been, let's say, assaulting someone, and that was because you were under mind control, so you might be exposed, but it's not going to be, you're not necessarily going to be wronged because your name is spoken, okay? And so that's something to take into consideration. This is something very holistic that this is happening, and the various perceptions of what justice is that come to the forefront. And so that can simply be for reasons that, hey, somebody's not being exposed, or somebody got a backlash, and it's like, oh, why is this backlash? And they're like, okay, maybe I have wronged this person for no reason, or maybe they knew they have wronged this person, but they kind of like want to correct that because there is a backlash to that. Or maybe it can also be that you didn't think there is karma because you grew up in an environment where you're constantly shown that there isn't, in order for you to do things under the consideration that there is no karma. And at the same time, your spirit was broken so that any bit of goodness in you was robbed. So that can be a place where you hurt people, but now you see that, oh, there is karma. So you might have fate restored in justice at this time, but it happens in an unusual way, okay? I was watching the butterfly goddess, um, and she's been talking about, she has been tattooing like the Libra on her hand, the Libra sign, okay, the scales. And she's been saying, if you've been caught up, like, don't get caught up in karmic cycles. If you have any indigenous blood in you, then you don't have to be worried. It's just like what was done to one person, one side is going to be done to another. And I'm like, how should I say, like, colonizers have indigenous blood in them for obvious reasons. Um, so we all have indigenous blood in us. There's a party in Netherlands, the SGP, that's been canceled on Google, and that's one of the canceling issues. Like, they post all the tea on everyone, which to me has been fascinating. And you know, it doesn't mean that all that they say is true, but if what is not true is when they say something is conspiracy. So okay, and then they say we want people with 75 Dutch blood at least only in Netherlands. There's no such thing. I'll leave it up to you to think of why, because I constantly talk about that. The effect of ritual abuse hurting fertility is the fact that there's colonialism and the fact there's no such thing. There's not a single, like if I take prominent leaders in Netherlands, so Pim Fortuyn is out. Peter has been WHO deleted. Rutte has Indonesian blood, and Wilders is, oh my God, I'm not gonna get it right. It's not Singapore, is it? I don't I don't remember. Singapore, I don't remember. Okay, but something Asian. So and that's just like, you know, you can't really get Dutch blood because the, the ritual abuse has been so intense. So that's really like you can't really. Okay. Um, and so what does that mean? And that can be really transformative for people to say, okay, because a lot of us been manifesting certain types of justice, and and here I think it's not to watch what you ask for, but it's actually going to be, it's going to, like, justice is coming, um and it's just surprising and unusual because there's a Uranus beta per se involved in that. And there are a lot of things we don't know. Okay, like I've been tending to beta per se to abolish satanic ritual abuse and not knowing that the sacrifices are done to the snake goddess, which is beta per se. And but at the same time, me turning to beta per se to abolish satanic ritual abuse exposed many things. It's like that freaking works. Okay, so that freaking works in tending into things, and learning about these things. You think, oh, what is, you know, satanic ritual abuse, and where the children, where did they kidnap the children, who are the children? It's like your leaders, your leaders, your leaders. Okay. I had no idea, for example, that I had undergone satanic ritual abuse. Okay. And all the signs were there, but I was like, I had no idea what the dumbfuckery. And this is like, that stuff is really intense. Um, uh, but you just think about the fact that all the people that you see that are on the money are going through this and have gone through this. So um so that there is justice. Okay, you've been doing spells of justice, you've been putting the nails in the coffin. Okay, um and the nails are showing up. Okay, so what's what I gotta say to you. Okay, the nails are showing up. And again, if you've been doing a spell of justice on behalf of someone, they might see it, and you might see it. Okay, you might see things that are to do with the scales naturally. You might see nails, very simply put. Okay, and you might see nails where the justice spell is about. Okay, you might see the nails where the justice spell is about, and that's going to be like very surprising for you, and you might not connect all the dots. Okay, like you might not connect all the dots, and you just have to remember that not all people see justice in the same way, and the way what you were asking for as justice, Uranus is about to liberate your notion of justice. Okay, what is right? And that happens for all of us. So the energies that up in the air is very much about the Venn diametrics. It's about our businesses as well. Okay, it's about our businesses. Like, you're about to learn what's blocking your business. um, what are the things you weren't aware of? You may have been acting in benefit of someone that wasn't open to see you're not coming to abuse them. Um, or you may have been, just the type of person that like looks into things, and that was the type of energy right now with Venn diametrics, that there's some sort of wrong made right, and there's some sort of fears that things won't go right, that might yield that justice magic, and the fact that Uranus is involved. So you wouldn't expect that to be just. Okay, you wouldn't expect that to be the act of justice, or you wouldn't expect that to be correct, but you're gonna see that it's not necessarily malefic. Um, and you're gonna be exposed to, okay, lots of truths. Okay, so let's say if, but you really want to understand Venus, okay? Because Libra, yes, Libra is kind of like, the middle phase of Libra is kind of like, yeah, what was is what will be. Now, kind of like the tipping of the scales. You did that to us, now we do that to you. But the we and the you is being fumbled with Uranus. Okay, just like I said, I asked the snake goddess for abolishing satanic ritual abuse, and then I get, you know, from Netherlands, it's kind of, hey, that those ceremonies, that they're for the snake goddess as well. So, and those children you're trying to locate and save, like, why won't you, try, why won't you send the word to like your politicians, because they're the children, but do that knowing that they are the children. Okay, you kind of seeing the way, if you genuinely go for justice, then your view of what this justice is would be evolved, and and so is the view of the balance that is restored. And for every person it's going to be completely different. If you've been, let's say, I'm Dutchy, so that's like, had a lot of fortune, 22 degrees Virgo. So if you've been, let's say, tending to cold cases, and there were all kind of forces using your work for all kinds of things that you may have been even dissociated from, then um, then the fact that you may have been affiliated with drugs and drug cartels might be self-explanatory. Okay, like if you watch mutilated bodies all day and tend to what happened to them while you grew up in a cult where you yourself was abused and had to abuse to survive, I can understand how like hard drugs go with that. Okay, if we want to change the reality, it's not necessarily about jailing the drug cartel lords, but actually abolishing satanic ritual abuse, which most people who tend to cold cases in Netherlands can't talk about. So they might say something like, well, the war on drugs is lost. Okay? Well, it's a public health thing. Um, and so this is where things get really weird for you. Like, you wouldn't expect that is justice, okay? At the same time, there are a lot of like, people talk about a spiritual warfare. It's not spiritual. It's fucking mind control technology on people. Um, and so there's just nothing spiritual about the war. Okay. It because in the essence of spirituality, you just want to live a good life, and why not? Um, so so yeah, you will be exposed to weird shit, and people have different notions of justice, and to put on top of that the fact that people don't believe that it's actually justice, so you could be scared of justice. If you've been wronged your entire life, you see people doing justice stuff, you're like, okay, they're gonna fuck me over. Okay, they're gonna gaslight me, they're gonna abuse me, but they're definitely not gonna yield anything just. And you might be surprised, okay, if I think about the fact that, 2018, I go to have a discussion about like abolishing debt, the debt that was left, and I put on a peridot crystal, and I wear respectable clothes to come to that place, kind of like not too fancy, not that I had anything too fancy. And the lawyer says, the judge says, well, you have no idea how many people I have with cases just like yours. I really appreciate the fact that you're not dressed for the occasion, because people, you downgrade their dressing um, to try to appear more poor than they are. And he said you have no idea how many people were prescribed drugs that made them go into whatever, okay, what they call manic episode, and waste a lot of money. And I understand that recovery from sexual boundary violation is going to be years, as was ruling in my favor. Okay. And when he said that, I was kind of shocked, because I said to myself, well, I've already been dealing with that for years. I don't want to hear about having to deal with that for more years. Um, but I was surprised that he, like, it's like that's the guy that deals with that. Okay, that's the guy, like, that's the guy who deals with all the prescriptions. And that's the guy that knows that I wasn't fucking manic. I had trauma, very likely quite intense one, and I was prescribed stuff that would make me look bad, and I made a degree out of it. Okay, I was just like, okay, give me rehabilitation, because I was like, and that was that. And he was also understanding that the journey of recovery is lengthy, and he understood that I won't be able to work for many, 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 many years. And he understood why, because he's a judge. Okay. So you might be having such a moment. And you'd be surprised at the places where the law is in your favor. And I know that you say, well, everybody's a crook. Well, people are not born crook. They become crooks. And they become crooks because there's a ton of energy invested in making them crooks. Okay, when I was homeless in Netherlands, and suddenly they cut off the food supply, and you had to go in the cold to maybe get a voucher, I stole food. To be very frank, I stole food from the Albert Heijn, and I got channeling as to how to steal food. And that channeling was using the power of three that the same satanic cults are using, okay, that the intelligence is using, that the Mossad is using, that everybody's using nowadays. And that was my food, okay? Because I needed to have food, right? So So justice is not going to be for the what you expected it to be. Okay. And that's just something. Okay, that's just something that happens. um and there are very interesting ways, because that eclipse with Libra was also having to do with image. And I can tell I have Neptune midheaven, so I always have to surrender how I look, and I'm around my Neptune square. So there has been a lot of discussions behind my back that I had no idea of. And usually when I find out, it's kind of like, hey, somebody says something, and I'm like, why were they even talking about me? Um, and that can bring in a whole review of the history, like for the fact that what when I know about satanic ritual abuse, and the fact that my name is Jungblood, and the other name is Saban. Okay, so yeah, ear spiking, and I understand why people were curious, because I had no idea. And I still don't know my bloodline. Okay, I'm Israeli as well, so we can't have DNA test. You need approval from the state. And I only realized that I thought my mom was chased because of the book she was writing and publishing. What the world doesn't know is the book that she wrote before the book that she was publishing, for the two books she was publishing, that had to do with the DNA test. And she wouldn't know that either, because she was doing something innocent that had to do with my upbringing. It's just simply put to make sure I do DNA test before I marry someone or date someone seriously, lest it be my, brother if he's younger than me. And I happen to be Israeli. We can't have DNA test without permission of the state. She didn't know that. And we have entire intelligence in our house. I thought for the roundabout, okay, for the book she wrote, for the second book she wrote, but apparently people read both her books, and very likely is something to do with the one she didn't publish. Okay, just as we go back to the lineage, some of y'all being canceled, and you think you've been canceled for one reason, but you've been canceled for another reason. Tomorrow is the birthday of Peter de Vries, rest in peace. And the amount of pressure that was put on me to be introduced to this family, that I don't understand myself. What was the interests behind that? Like, it definitely went pretty well after, I tended to do to the political assassination. But 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 then it's like, what were the interests behind that, and why, and so on. So when it comes to image, when it comes to what the power you really hold, or what you really exposed, or what was the effect of your whistleblowing, or things that you might not even be aware of, that just at the roundabout, and you receive a note from somebody to say something, and you're like, where the fuck is that coming from? Okay. So you're about to learn where the fuck is that coming from, and that may have to do with that justice. Names are going to be coming out when it comes to that. And the gift of grace. So again, if your name exposed, this doesn't mean that you're going to have defamation, lose your business. It means that there can be some sort of karma, just like with the Nikes, okay? The Nike story is like, if you had slavery, you need to abolish slavery. If you abolish slavery, then you regain a respect. That's just the thing. And for some of you, you may have been eager to get a chance to do something differently. Okay, it's like how the fuck do I go out of crime for some of you, or how do I deal with that, or hey, the situation is so intricate, nobody's going to believe me. Okay, it's those things. It really is those things. And because we have this mind control things, then channeling has been involved, and you know, you get a message across, and then you might listen to, you go to tarot reader, you go to even astrologer. When I was talking in my previous video about the karma of businesses, and I said, well, if you got a business and that business has not been always along the lines of, that you want to know the karma of the business, I could offer you a reading, but you know that there is all surveillance, and that would expose both of us to situations that we might not be prepared for. And not only that, there is this mind control thing, and you might go to an astrologer, like happened to very like what happened to, I had a Facebook friend that had a publicity office in Switzerland, and her husband was very likely mind controlled or something like that. And it can be the case that he was even mind controlled. Now that I think about it, sounds like a narcissistic, we used to call it, but the narcissistic borderline, whatever. And she got a deal with Facebook, and she did like really great things. And then they wanted to hospitalize her. And so she went to, healers and that and that and that. And she was all in that healing community and upping everybody. But then she got betrayed from like literally the entire world. And so that then of course, she would be a woman alone, and she would not give up her sexual lives. Then immediately people would come up with all kinds of rumors. And then she decided to go against psychiatry. So she didn't see the whole picture of like, hey, the pizza business that you're working at is money laundering, and you might not be targeted because you have a husband now and children or whatnot. But your loner co-worker would be, especially if they don't have the ability to just like mingle with people the way you do. Okay, and they're not like Libran in the sense of being able to balance the image so well, and to control the image and be in control of their image so well. So they would be targeted. Okay, and no, they can't just work at the pizza. And what you don't know about this pizza is what's happening with the hours where you're not there, and that you wouldn't believe for them until it happened to you. So okay, so granted that we don't want that to happen to you, how do we restore justice here? Okay. But that person was very much informed with image, but not informed with something that went around her back. And you could go to an astrologer, and then that astrologer is either MK Ultra infused, which would mean they are susceptible to mind control, and then they don't give you the right information. That could happen with me. Okay, so that would affect my business, that would affect your business, and that's something that we need to correct. The first, when what happened to me with the housing happened, the first thing I said, hey, that could have been MK Ultra. Okay, for 2 years you were okay, that could have been MK Ultra. When I saw the spying and the this and the that, I understood there was more to that, and connected to when my mother was living under the same real estate agent. There were cameras in the house. So I said, the crookery is beyond this particular case. So you might find that something you thought was fairly innocent is not. Whereas you might find that something was completely vile is can be explained fairly well with MK Ultra, and it's a mixture of the two. Okay, where you talk about protection, or where you talk about what's been done to people in businesses, wanting to escape crime, um, wanting to make the right choices in life, where that leads you, being destined to be doing something, okay, whether it's with the real estate. And really, you can't do real estate without understanding masonry, and masonry has been infiltrated with a lot of agendas that are malefic to mankind, okay, we all need a home. um, so there's a lot of justice questions in hanging in the air, and Uranus is evolving our way of perceiving that. um and you and that's what you're seeing, because I feel like some of you may have been asking themselves, I asked for justice, why is this happening? Or I asked for my image to not be tarnished, why is this happening? Or I asked for, let's say, not to be canceled, I could do my business or sell my books or whatnot, why is this suddenly happening? Or, hey, I asked for, I don't know, justice in the matter of like hidden cameras, why is that happening? And it's global, so things are coming, to the global forefront. um, and the nails in the coffin is a justice spell. Okay, it's kind of like, how should I say it, a lot of people have been doing that on Halloween. And and that's literally means somebody has been asking for justice in your behalf. Okay, so that basically means they've been asking for justice for you. They've been asking for you to not be wronged. And both the person who was asking for that and yourself might be surprised. Okay, um, at the results. Because, or alternatively, you've been asking for justice for yourself, and then you find out, okay, what's been going on. So there's going to be a spillover of a lot of information, a lot of truth with full moon Uranus conjunction. It's going to be highly explosive emotionally, housing wise, wealth wise, caregiving wise, welfare wise, food wise, breast cancers wise, um, psychologically. It's like there's gonna be revealing shocking information that you weren't even considering. Um, okay. And that's a big reveal. And still we are at the thrones of that solar eclipse in Libra that was conjuncting Vendia Matrix, with Ketu conjuncting still Zendaya, which is the planet of, growing from, as Lada Cheva said, harloting ourselves to escape. Is basically escaping human trafficking, okay, and people pleasing, and so on. So a lot of us have been setting our own boundaries and setting the record straight, and we're thinking, and also a lot of us have been saying, I've been doing so much to get it right. Why is it still happening? Well, Mars ruler of Rahu is opposing Pluto, and there's still a lot to tend to, okay? Um, okay, there's still a lot to say. I've been seeing Jaguar Wright crying literally her heart out, saying, "Hey, why do all these people talk of MK Ultra when they don't actually do anything?" And then she begins to say where that it's everywhere, because yes, it's raising to the consciousness of people. Is something that the window is opening to tend to that, um, and more and more people are affected. So more and more people tend to that, and that is even though we don't know necessarily what to do, we are okay. We are looking at this. We are looking at what can be done, um, and we do want to do something about that. Okay, that is just, and we understand that that is way more intricate than anyone can imagine. Um, so definitely people be purging old ways of justice, old ways of rethinking about things, and Lilith is very involved. It's one of the three womans. But I want to talk about not just the Lilith of Ketu with the Vendiamatrix eclipse, but the Lilith of Rahu. I'm one of the Lilith Rahus. Okay, Rahu at that eclipse was touching on my Lilith. I'm only one of the Lilith Rahus because this is Lilith. Because and some of those Liliths are with Aries. Okay, so because this is Lilith, and because Lilith has to do with raw sexuality as well, I don't touch on that when analyzing charts of like public personas. I just like I pay attention to that, and I just but Rahu Lilith is intense. Those who have Lilith in the first phase of Aries, we are moving from the Liliths of the Ketu Libra Liliths. We're giving justice to that, and then we're moving to the Rahu Liliths of Aries, and those are the invisible Liliths that you don't know about. Gotcha. Those are the invisible Liliths that are operating in the field right now, and they have their story. Okay, everybody, yeah, every one of them has their story, and we don't always know the story. Okay, so that's just another thing. This is just another thing in the equation where we're moving from the Lilith that would be balanced at the court to the Lilith that is balanced by a certain sovereignty and identity. Okay, um, or even at war. Okay, it's another Lilith. Okay, there's the Lilith that there's the Lilith that files a lawsuit, and then there's the Lilith that invokes the second. Okay, and both Liliths aim at a goal that could be quite similar, which is a free person need not oppress another. Okay, there's the frustrated Lilith. Okay, there is the Lilith that has been wrong, and then there is the frustrated Lilith who's just frustrated. It's like, yeah, I've been wrong, but also otherwise, also the other person's been wrong, and everyone been wrong, and I'm just frustrated because those Liliths are at the sign of getting things right. Aries is about being right. It's a Mars sign. It's not about being just in the sense of the court. It's about kind of like I knew the rules, but the rules didn't know me. Going back to Peter. Um, in the sense that, if I want to, if there's a person holding a child, and that person doesn't know the child, and that person begins to hold that child very closely, and that person doesn't know the child, and to play with that child, and that person doesn't know the child, then I take off my fucking phone and I take a photo of that person, that child, and it's still on my Instagram. Okay? I don't care what the rules. Okay, if we could do that with Hollandier, we sure can do that with the person that sits at the hostel and starts playing with the child that's not their family, and begins to give hugs to that child, and so on and so forth. Where I know what, okay, what, and as I'm speaking, I'm having another eureka of that, of why. Um, so yeah, we're soon having kind of like the end of that. Um, but you see that those are deep things we're dealing with, and uh, just know that, allow things to unfold, and understand that the essence is like, yes, it is justice. Okay, it's surprising, but it is justice, and it will surprise us. Um, but this is it's about it's there is fairness, okay, here, that's important. There is fairness, there is not just good intent, but even good conduct. And you might be fearing of what the result will be, of fear and justice. You may end up, perhaps this time we get it right.